We had a question about kind of tying in the NBA playoffs to F1
Yeah.
from Harry, producer Harry. Thank you.
Yeah.
He said many are saying the Celtics championship is an example of quote vibeless dominance. What is the
hmm
F1 equivalent of that? And also, are there aux cords in the 24-hour Le Mans cars? So let's start with vibeless dominance first.
Yeah, the Schumacher era was kind of vibeless dominance. I know that we remember it differently now, but it was, I think, sometimes got dismissed as being overly robotic. I don't think he's the real robot, historically speaking. Alain Prost, any driver who comes across and says that you want to win the race going as slowly as possible, that person is vibeless. That
I'm gonna
is.
I'm gonna go with a more recent answer and just say last year was Viveless dominance
Yeah.
by Max Verstappen and Red Bull. He won every single race, I think, except two or maybe three. It was just complete dominance and utterly vibeless. But things are getting more interesting right now this season, so we're happy for that. We're coming up on a triple header here, Spencer, with Barcelona, Austria, and Silverstone back to back to
hmm
back weekends where I think we'll find a lot out about these cars and where we're at. So hopefully, the vibeless dominance in the NBA will soon end as it potentially may be ending in F1.
Yeah, I think in F1 we're headed for more interesting times. Like, and I know that's true because we do have at the very least in 2026 a major rules overhaul that will, I think, it's already making people upset. Speaking of Vibeless Dominance being upset by the end of Vibeless Dominance, Max Verstappen's like, well, we maybe just need some turtle shells and some banana peels. His words,
Okay,
not.
well, Spencer, that leads us to another question, actually, perfectly. In the event that F1 were to implement a race inspired by the iconic GameCube game Mario Kart Double Dash, what team would be in the best position to win that, and who would be driving, and who would be throwing the bananas and shells and stuff?
Out of our F1 teams. Hmm.
Yes.
So I have a feeling, due to their already sort of whimsical collection of drivers, I think that any team with Daniel Ricciardo and Yuki Tsunoda on it is probably going to be primed for some silly, it's like a genuine silly season of racing, right?
Yeah, I mean, but they have to work together well, right? Like
Yeah.
this is a team effort. And I think if you can get Max and Sergio Perez back on the same page, this
hmm
basically describes 2021 Abu Dhabi. So I'm gonna
It
go with
does.
Red Bull again.
Also, the video gamification. I know that Max isn't happy with some of that coming into the sport. I would also point out Max's mouth may be running ahead of his brain, because I happen to know for a fact Max's brain responds very well to video games
True.
because it's his favorite form of racing. So the closer we can
It's his
get to
job.
merging the two into one form, the better, I say.
We forgot to answer the question about the aux cords. Do they have aux cords, or are the drivers like on the team radio and stuff, and they're not listening to music the whole time at Le
They
Mans?
are they are sadly talking back and forth quite a bit
Oh.
with the team engineers. Yeah.
Do you think you could? So I imagine there's stretches where they're not talking as much and things are kind of quiet. Maybe
hmm
there's short stretches, but I imagine they're not, it's not constant chatter. Do you think you could, if you were a driver, say I'm a driver and I focus best when I'm driving, when I'm listening to, say, an audiobook or a podcast, do you think I could get my race engineer to read something to me, say The Hobbit or The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring, to kind of keep me awake and focused while I drive?
You might get too emotional, would be my worry.
No, that's true. The hobbits are so brave.
I mean, what would you be able to
They're
make it
so
through the
brave.
would you be able to make it through the tavern scenes at the end,
Oh,
like where they go back and realize how they'll never be the same after
they
seeing
save
such
the
a horrendous
Shire.
conflict?
Oh, when they save the Shire, I mean, the character growth, no one talks about the hobbits, but the hobbits, I mean, everyone talks about the hobbits, so that was just not true what I said. But the
Yeah.
hobbits really, they are, of course, the heroes. And they go from just these little quiet, simple, like quiet, cute lives to just like they kill orcs, they stab orcs to death,
hmm
they hit them with bow and arrows, and all they get all the other hobbits to join too, and I think that's great.
Having seen British sports fans in the wild myself this weekend, either on the way to Euros or at Le Mans, y'all aren't the hobbits. Stop that. You're the orcs. You're the orcs. That's who you are. You know, meat's
Well,
back on the menu, boys. You're the orc.
J.R.R. Tolkien would tell you that The Lord of the Rings is not an allegory. It is the history of Middle Earth. So there's really no
Yeah,
comparisons.
sure. It's not an allegory. That's why the elves are definitely not the French. The elves who are like, we have our own rules. We do not need you. We will have long lunches and we will be very cold and intellectual.
We'll have beautiful hair.
We'll have
Okay.
beautiful. It would be prettier, right? That's what the hobbits are mad at the elves for. They're mad that their lives are better and they're prettier.
They like that. Well, some of the hobbits, I mean, Samwise specifically, they like the music. They like the elf song. They like
Yeah.
they think that they're pretty. The other hobbits are like, these guys are weird and they're tall and they pretend like we don't exist.
They speak a weird language. Yes, the French. They're just the French.
Okay.